Since his conviction for the murder of his wife, Laci Peterson, and their unborn son, Connor, Scott Peterson has maintained his innocence. Over the years, he's fought through countless appeals, hoping for a chance to walk free. Now, with a recent judge's decision to allow new DNA testing on critical evidence and Scott's first ever on-camera interviews, the fight for freedom has reached a turning point. Could this be the breakthrough his defense has been waiting for? Before we dive into the latest developments, let's quickly revisit the case that captured national attention. In 2002, Scott Peterson was convicted of the murders of his pregnant wife, Laci, and their unborn son, Connor. This case shocked the public not only because of its tragic details, but because of Scott's behavior, including his affair with Amber Frey. Despite a lack of direct evidence, the jury found him guilty based on circumstantial evidence, including his fishing alibi, his actions around the time of Laci's disappearance, and the eventual discovery of her body near his reported fishing location. In 2004, Scott was sentenced to death, seemingly ending the trial. But in many ways, it was only the beginning of a long legal journey and a fight for justice that's still unfolding today. Following his conviction, Scott was sent to San Quentin State Prison, where he awaited execution on California's death row. Despite the sentence, Scott has always maintained his innocence, describing the trial as deeply unfair. Over the years, his defense team launched several appeals, arguing procedural errors, jury misconduct, and media influence affected his right to a fair trial.
Part of the problem was they wanted to get the trial over as soon as possible. I think that was a mistake, because I really don't think the defense had enough time to really understand the case to defend it properly.
One major point of contention was the intense media coverage, which they claimed made it impossible to select an unbiased jury. In 2020, after years of appeals, the California Supreme Court overturned Scott's death sentence, citing mistakes in jury selection. Although he was re-sentenced to life without parole, this decision reignited hope for Scott's family and legal team that his conviction might still be overturned. In the recent Peacock documentary Face to Face with Scott Peterson, Scott spoke on camera for the first time since his conviction, offering his own perspective on the case. He maintains his innocence, stating that he loved Laci and was devastated by her loss. Scott reflects on the decision not to testify during his trial, saying he now believes that was a mistake and that his side of the story was left unheard. Scott expresses regret over the affair with Amber Frey, acknowledging that his behavior damaged his image and hurt Laci's family.
Thoughts that haunt me, and it's devastating. I feel such shame and guilt that me having had sex with Amber Frey caused all that.
He argues that this mistake has kept him trapped behind bars and asks the public to consider the possibility that the wrong person might be serving time for this crime. Throughout these years, Scott's family has remained his strongest advocates, publicly fighting to keep his case alive. Initially, his mother, Laci Peterson, took the lead, speaking out in interviews and calling for a closer look at the evidence. Since her passing, Scott's sister-in-law, Laci Peterson, has continued this advocacy. Laci has been highly vocal about what she believes are flaws in the investigation, even dedicating herself to researching every aspect of the case. Laci's work led her to collaborate with the Los Angeles Innocence Project, which has joined Scott's legal team in reviewing evidence, filing appeals, and raising awareness through online campaigns and petitions. For Scott's family, the stakes are deeply personal, and they are determined to find justice. The latest and most significant development in Scott's case is a judge's decision to allow DNA testing on key pieces of evidence, particularly a piece of duct tape found on Laci's pants. This DNA testing, permitted 2 decades after the trial, represents a new hope for Scott's defense team. The duct tape, which was overlooked in earlier investigations, could potentially reveal the DNA of an unknown person. Forensic advancements since 2002 now allow testing of even the smallest traces of DNA, and Scott's legal team sees this as an opportunity to introduce scientific evidence into a case that was primarily circumstantial. In the documentary, Scott's family and the Innocence Project emphasize how important these new forensic evaluations are, arguing that this evidence could support his claim of innocence.
It's a little overwhelming to look at the evidence in this case and realize how solvable this crime is. To have an innocence organization take his case, I think really speaks to the fact that Scott is innocent.
If the duct tape DNA shows an unknown profile, it could be a turning point, pointing to the involvement of another person and raising questions about the original investigation's thoroughness. The defense team sees this as a vital piece of the puzzle that may have been overlooked, one that could cast doubt on Scott's conviction. What would these DNA test results mean for Scott Peterson's case? There are a few potential outcomes. First, if the DNA on the duct tape matches an unidentified person, it could indicate the presence of another individual, casting doubt on Scott's guilt. This could provide the grounds for a retrial, giving the defense a new chance to argue that other suspects were overlooked. On the other hand, if the DNA evidence links back to Scott or doesn't yield new information, it could mean the end of the road for future appeals based on DNA. However, even if no conclusive results come from the duct tape, the defense may still push for further testing on other items connected to the case, continuing to explore every avenue in the search for answers. For Scott's family and his advocates, the upcoming forensic results represent both hope and risk. A new DNA profile could be the breakthrough they've been waiting for, while an inconclusive result could set their fight back. With DNA testing now in progress, what's next for Scott Peterson's legal journey? The results of this testing are expected in the coming months, and Scott's defense team is prepared to present any findings that could support their call for a retrial. The Innocence Project, along with Laci Peterson, is strategizing for the possibility of a new court hearing, hoping that any new evidence will challenge the case's original conclusions. For Scott and his family, this marks a critical point. They know the stakes are high, and every new development could bring them closer to a retrial or close this chapter on Scott's chances for freedom. His family remains vigilant, determined to see this through to the end. As of now, it's a waiting game as the DNA analysis is conducted, but the Peterson family's dedication has never wavered. As Scott Peterson's legal journey continues, this recent court decision could be a turning point, with new DNA evidence now under scrutiny, and with Scott's first on-camera interviews shedding light on his side of the story. The case has reached a new level of public interest. Will these latest developments finally lead to a breakthrough? Or is this another step in a long road of appeals? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for updates on this ongoing case. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.